The polished marble of Maxwell Corp's headquarters gleamed under the morning sunlight, but the emptiness of the lobby felt heavier than any light could pierce. The sound of my heels clicking against the floor echoed in a hollow rhythm, one that immediately pulled me back 5 years. Back then, this place had been a cage disguised as opportunity. Today it felt like a stage, my stage, and the world was about to notice. I straightened the tailored navy suit I had spent months perfecting. Gone were the frayed hand-me-downs from high school, the faded skirts and awkward blouses my father's new wife had subtly mocked. Now, at 32, I was no longer Sophia Carter, the shy stepdaughter who had been pushed aside and underestimated. Today I was Dash, Miss Carter, to be precise. The receptionist looked up, hesitation written across her face. "I don't see you." "On the list for today's annual board meeting," she said, brows furrowed. "I should be there." I replied, voice steady, measured. A small, polite smile, one that barely hinted at the storm waiting behind it, before she could respond. A familiar voice cut through the lobby like a blade. "Is there a problem here?" Blake Maxwell, my stepbrother. The golden boy, the heir apparent, the human embodiment of arrogance. He looked exactly the way I remembered. Crisp designer suit, perfectly combed hair, and that infuriatingly smug grin that had haunted my adolescence. He faltered for a fraction of a second when our eyes met, just long enough for a flicker of recognition, but quickly recovered. "Sophia," he drawled, lips curling into a mock warmth. "What a surprise. Here to beg for another job?" The memory of 5 years ago hit me like a punch to the gut. Dad had died suddenly, leaving the company in what I thought was safe hands, but Blake had orchestrated my removal with a cruel efficiency. He called it budget cuts, but everyone knew the truth. The stepdaughter didn't belong in the Maxwell vision, not then. Not ever. I kept my expression neutral. "Actually, I'm here for the board meeting," I said evenly, as though stating a fact could make it true. Blake laughed, the sound echoing across the marble. "The board meeting? That's rich." "Sorry, sis, but that's a shareholders-only gathering." He stepped in front of the elevator, blocking my path with ease. "Why? Don't you run along and try your hand somewhere else?" If only he knew. If only he knew the meticulous years I had spent building, planning, and waiting. While everyone assumed I was floundering in small ventures, I had been quietly laying the foundation for the ultimate return, exactly what Dad had wanted, even. Before he was taken from us, the receptionist hesitated. "Actually, there's a listing. It just came through." "Miss Carter," Blake's head whipped around. "Impossible. I personally approve every attendee. This meeting is restricted. Major shareholders only." I smirked slightly, pulling out my phone. "Interesting. You might want to double check." The company registry today. For the first time, a hint of doubt passed over his features. "What are you talking about?" I gestured toward the elevators. "Shall we discuss it upstairs?" "The board is waiting, after all." Ridiculous. He blocked my path again. "Security." Then, as if on cue, Diana Maxwell emerged from the elevator. My mother, perfect hair, precise posture, but that subtle twitch in her eye betrayed her unease. Blake quickly reassured her. "Mom, I've got this." I glanced at my watch, 9:58. The meeting started in 2 minutes. I allowed myself a slow, deliberate smile. "Shall we resolve this here, or would you prefer to maintain a little dignity?" While taking it upstairs, Diana's jaw tightened. "Let her up." "We'll deal with this properly," she said finally. The elevator doors closed, carrying us upward. Each floor passing brought a rising tension in my chest, not fear, exactly, but a cold, calculating anticipation. Dad's words from years ago echoed in my mind. "Be patient, Sophia. Everything is in place. Just wait for the right moment." The right moment had finally arrived. The boardroom doors opened, and the room felt almost cinematic in its perfection. Massive floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across one side, bathing the polished mahogany table in light. 12 of the city's most powerful executives were seated, all eyes now turning toward the small, unexpected figure at the doorway. Blake's voice rang out, loud and authoritative. "This is a closed meeting. Security will be—" "Actually," I interrupted, stepping inside, letting the words hang in the air. "I believe this is exactly where I'm supposed to be." All heads swiveled. The room went silent. "Blake's—" Sneer faltered, eyes narrowing. I took a seat at the far end of the table, letting calm confidence settle over me like armor. Every subtle shift in posture, every raised eyebrow from the board members, told me the tension was palpable. "Sometimes the best revenge," I said softly, letting the words reach just Blake and Diana, "isn't showing up. It's showing up with receipts." A ripple of whispers circled the table. Blake's face darkened, a mix of rage and disbelief. Diana's hands gripped the chair backs tightly, her composure cracking ever so slightly. "Blake," I continued, sliding a thick folder across the table, "your legal team has already received these documents." He froze. The boardroom door opened. Thomas Harrison, Maxwell Corp's longtime legal counsel, entered, expression grave. He nodded at me. "These documents are legitimate," he said simply. "Miss Carter, through a series of carefully structured investments and proxy holdings, has acquired controlling interest in Maxwell Corporation." Blake slammed his hand onto the table, faces shade between shock and fury. "That's impossible. Every major share transaction requires board approval." I leaned back. "Unless," I said, smiling faintly, "those shares were purchased through multiple shell companies, each just under the reporting threshold. This morning, they all transferred ownership to Carter Global Investments. I am now the majority shareholder." Diana sank into her chair, her carefully curated image unraveling in real time. Blake's voice shook, almost childlike. "You have no right dash." "This was my father's company too," I said, coldly precise. "Or did you forget that he was CEO before you and Diana pushed him aside?" The weight of history, betrayal, and manipulation hung in the air. Every board member could feel it. This wasn't just a takeover, it was the culmination of years of scheming, planning, and silent preparation. "Mr. Harrison," I instructed, "please distribute the new organizational charts." As the document circulated, Blake's face paled. Every chart, every line of restructured management, was a dagger aimed at the empire he had taken for granted. "Diana," I added softly, eyes locked on her, "shall we review the company's financials? Perhaps the offshore accounts, the consulting fees, the manipulated transfers?" Her perfectly styled face betrayed panic. Blake's trembling hand reached for his water glass. He knew finally, but this wasn't just a game. Comment below what you would have done if you were in this lobby, facing a lifetime of betrayal, and then saw the one person you wronged take control right before your eyes. The board members shifted uneasily, sensing the magnitude of what was unfolding. Some reached for their phones, others simply stared, mouths slightly agape. Every silent second tightened the tension like a drawn wire. I leaned forward, letting the final pause settle. "Either we manage this transition professionally, or federal investigators will handle it. Your choice." The clock ticked loudly. Seconds stretched into moments. Sweat beaded on Blake's forehead. Diana's hands trembled. And I sat back, the calm center of a storm that had been 5 years in the making. The game had begun, and I held all the pieces. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, and hit the like button if you're loving this slow burn revenge. And tell me in the comments, how would you handle being underestimated for 5 years, only to walk back into the room as the person holding all the power? The silence in the boardroom was deafening, a thick, almost tangible tension that seemed to press down on every person present. Blake's face was pale, the furious veins along his temples throbbing with the first real taste of panic he'd ever known. Diana sat rigid, fingers clutching the armrests, her perfectly maintained composure. Now a fragile veneer. The executives shifted uneasily, their loyalty to Blake and Diana suddenly uncertain, the air heavy with whispered calculations. I tapped the folder in front of me once, deliberately letting the sound resonate across the table. Let's review. The transactions that brought us here, I said, slow and controlled. 7 years of board manipulation, unauthorized transfers, offshore accounts, and a series of creative consulting contracts that benefited, well, certain family members more than the company itself. Blake flinched, the first crack of real fear breaking through his arrogance. His lips moved, forming words he dared not say aloud, and Diana's mouth twitched, betraying her anxiety. They had been playing a game of corporate dominance for years, but for once, they weren't in control. I leaned forward, meeting the eyes of each board member. Everything I'm presenting has been meticulously documented. Every email, every financial statement, every phone call is verifiable. The SEC has already been alerted to this in federal. Investigators are ready to review all the materials. The room erupted in murmurs. Some executives tried to look busy on their phones, while others stared openly at Blake and Diana, realization dawning. I watched their expressions carefully, the subtle shifts, the first tremors of self-preservation. Was gone. For the first time, she was truly afraid. The clock ticked loudly on the wall, each second a drumbeat of inevitability. The executives were shifting, whispering, evaluating their options. The room had transformed from one of smug control to a battlefield of nerves and panic. Don't forget to like this video if you're enjoying the slow unraveling of a corrupt empire, I added seamlessly, and comment what you would have done if you were Blake or Diana right now. Could you handle facing the consequences of years of manipulation? Blake lunged toward the door, but my security team, strategically positioned, intercepted him with quiet efficiency. Diana sank into her chair, utterly defeated, as the board members now turned to me with a mixture of respect, fear, and awe. This isn't just about ownership, I said, voice steady, almost serene. It's about accountability, about showing that no empire built on deception is invincible, and about ensuring that justice, no matter how delayed, is served. By the time the hour had passed, the boardroom had shifted irreversibly. Blake and Diana were neutralized, both legally and strategically, their empire dismantled. And for the first time, the company was mine to guide. Not for revenge alone, but to restore integrity, rebuild trust, and honor the legacy that had been stolen from my father. The weight of years of planning, patience, and sacrifice finally felt justified. And yet, I knew this was only the beginning. Phase 2, the full restructuring, public exposure, and ultimate consolidation of control was about to begin. If you love the tension of seeing a corrupt empire crumble from the inside, hit the like button now and subscribe for more stories like this. Comment below, what would you do if you were facing someone who had wronged your family for years and you finally held all the power?